Hi. In today's conversation, I'd like to share with you one of the most interesting and unusual pieces of resume advice that I've ever received from a coach. I have implemented this advice very successfully, and it's helped me a lot in my career. Before we talk about what that resume advice is, let's look at some of the initial steps of the process of going out to a movie theater and watching a movie. So we first purchase a ticket, and then we present that ticket to an usher who would then tear that ticket in half, give us a stub, and retain the remainder of that ticket as a record of having us purchased that ticket and presented it to the usher. This same example is applicable to the resume as well, because the advice I received was that to think about the resume as a ticket which gets me to the door of the interview room, just like how the movie ticket would get me to the door of the theater. Once I reach the door of the interview room, the objective was to tear that resume in half, mentally of course, not physically, tear that resume in half mentally and then enter the interview room. Because once I was there, and this is the advice that I received, once I was there, the conversation, the interview was all about my story and about me. The purpose of the resume was only to get me to the door of the interview room. And once I was there, I had to remove or disconnect myself from the resume and enter the interview room as a person and not as a representative of the resume. Now, this makes a huge difference, because when the hiring manager would ask, "Tell me something about yourself," I would share something about myself and or why I was a best fit for the job, as opposed to reciting a few bullet points from my resume, because in my mind I had ripped that resume in half. It was no longer applicable. Even those questions which specifically called out the resume and said, "Run me through your resume" or "Take me through your resume," I would restate the question in my mind as, this is an opportunity for me to share a little something about my story, a little something about the transitions and decision points in my life, a little something about what made me lean towards one decision versus another, as opposed to taking the question literally and talking about the resume. I received this advice when I had completed about 6 job interviews at 6 different companies and nothing had clicked as yet. And I was pretty much in a position to try this kind of an advice. So I gave it a shot, and it worked wonderfully well. And I've used it consistently throughout my career with great success. This advice may not be for everyone, so it's important to think about it for a while and see if it fits your situation. See if this working model of thinking about the resume as a ticket which gets you to the door of the interview room might be something which works for you. So think about that, and all the best.